All right, sorry for the delay, folks. Welcome to another episode of Frags and Beer Radio Live. We are joined, as usual, by Russell Michaels and
Hello.
hello, and our other guest tonight is Juude, who I know from Twitter and who was very excited to talk about Captain America: Civil War tonight, along with a couple of other things. So this is the live show where you get to see all the bells and whistles and how the sausage is made, and we're going to geek out tonight about a few fun topics. We're going to start with some light stuff, and then we're going to jump right into Civil War. And I'll let you know now, and we'll let you know a little bit later. When we do talk about Civil War, there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, you may want to stop watching when we jump into that section and watch the recorded part later and see what we thought of the movie and see what you think of the movie. So first, I used to write, and I will be writing again, sort of these parody kind of off-the-cuff articles that I called Zombie Watch. It was a feature I used to write on my site, and I'll be writing one soon because I came across a couple of news stories that I just couldn't resist. And the first one I saw was a company has been given the ethical, let's see, I want to phrase this exactly right. A biotech company has been granted ethical permission to attempt to use stem cells to reactivate the brains of the dead. So what they're actually going to do is it's a US based company, but they've gotten, I guess, the family of people who are clinically brain dead to volunteer, or maybe these people donated their bodies to science or whatever. But they are people who are considered brain dead, but their bodies being kept alive by machines. And this company wants to use stem cells to see if they can reanimate. And those are the words they actually use. They want to see if they can reanimate the neurological or the neurons of these dead brains, along with some medication that helps bring people out of comas and a few other things. And that just screamed like, I don't know about you guys, but that just screamed to me like zombie apocalypse. Like that's the beginning of every horrible zombie movie that you see on sci-fi, don't you think?
Yeah.
Of course, that's predicated. That makes me curious, and just like you try and reanimate like the brain dead patients, and I'm just like I'm curious what part of the brain, like what you would have to do to hit that sweet spot that would just cause somebody to just start having a craving for human flesh. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that brings up, and this gets into some of the spiritual or the metaphysical or however you want to phrase it. But the question comes into play is if we do have souls, which I believe we do, whether you believe it because of your religion or just believe it because it's just something you feel is right. If you're brain dead, is your soul attached to that, and does it leave the body? And then what happens if you resurrect the brain? Does your soul? I mean, do you come back as a being with a soul, which is essentially what a lot of zombie mythology is these are reanimated bodies whose souls have passed on, and that's why they are quote unquote undead. Is they're no longer human except their body is functioning still. Like this brings up so many questions about what does actually happen after our brains die, and like are our memories so locked in these brain cells that even if you do come back you won't remember anything, or will you even be human when you come back? You know what I mean?
Or it'd just be like
Yeah.
it'd probably be a prolonged near-death experience, and just like how long was I under? People have like minutes of like near-death experiences, and like I had this very near-death experience, and how long was I out? Oh, about 20 months.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe. We were just like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, was I, yeah. And just like, well, we weren't planning. Well, nobody thought you would be making it, so we just, and then they circled the details of how they managed to re-energize your brain. Or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then the second article, and this kind of they came out real close together, and I had to throw this one in there because it's just so disturbing what science can do, and how these are used in our popular like horror films and whatnot. But there's a company out there and they've been doing this for a while now. It's a British company, but they have a genetically modified mosquito that has a particular disease that's non harmful, but it causes the male of this species to be infertile. So what they hope it will do, and this is the science, this is what they intend for it to do, but they're going to release this genetically modified mosquito into areas around Brazil where the Zika virus is pretty high, and the science behind it is these infertile males will mate with the females, and then the females will lay eggs that will not survive. And they say in tests this brought the population of mosquitoes down in test areas by 90%, which sounds great on paper, but again, this is like the beginning of movies like, you know, Resident Evil and these awful things that start out with us screwing around with nature and changing things and then releasing it out there hoping that it will fix some greater problem, and it winds up turning into, you know, the T virus or some crap, right?
Yeah. Two things, right? They just can't be content with just if I remember correctly, glow-in-the-dark rodents and contraceptives for pigeons. Now they have to do this. And second, now they kind of think about it, Brazil would actually be a good locale for a zombie, for like either a survival horror movie or movie or game. It actually has that kind of. I mean, like, you wouldn't go very far to I mean, like, you see cities like Rio de Janeiro. You have like the affluent coast, and then there's the poor favelas. And then what happens when it just everything? How does it? I mean, it's already bad now. What happens when it gets descended into much exceptionally worse circumstances? Whereas in, you know, like places like, say, United States, it's still relatively middle upper class.
Right.
When does it do? When it get? But then again, it may somewhat turn into But then again, you've already seen it in Resident Evil 5. It's just, I guess it's a bit more of an exotic flair when it's just like in some place like in a heavily populated area like Brazil.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, that's that, and I'll be writing for you guys watching and everything. I will be writing a Zombie Watch feature, which I haven't done in a while, so I got to get to work on that, and you guys can read and hopefully laugh and have a little fun with that. The other big news, to jump into another geek topic that I love, for a franchise that I've been a fan of for a long time, Battlefield 1 was recently announced with a teaser trailer. It wasn't very long, but it was pretty exciting, at least for me. I know some people were critical of the music or the era.
God, that music! I just, I remember that music. I'm sorry. I remember that music. It's just like I'm thinking when I think of Battlefield in terms of music, I'm thinking the classic dun 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 dun,
right,
dun 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 dun, and then here's the music that the last time I heard it was attached to the trailer of the second G.I. Joe live action movie, and I'm just like, okay, where it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, hopefully the in-game music is more of a traditional, like 1942 had the very traditional kind of march music or music from that era, and they've always been really good with the sound, and I mean, you can fault EA and DICE for a lot of things, obviously, but they have always managed to produce a very audibly beautiful and visually beautiful game, even when they do have their flaws and their bugs and crashes and all the other problems that have come along with them. It's hard to deny that they are some of the most beautiful games in every era, whether it's Battlefield 2 or Bad Company or Battlefield 3 and 4. They've always been very beautiful, including the music. So I hope I'm sure they'll stick to that. I'm not too worried that the music. I think that's just for the teaser. You know, they wanted something exciting and new because you've got to sell a lot of young people now on a war that they probably spent about a week studying in high school. And so you've got to get all these people, and this is kind of,
get excited for trench warfare. Get excited for mustard gas.
Well,
get excited for the complete elimination of generations of young men and
right. that's funny because that's kind of how some of the quote unquote games journalists, because we're going to use that because a lot of them really have no business putting that title on themselves with their actions over the last couple of years, but that's where a lot of them have pulled into, and you know, to be quite honest, yeah, war is a terrible thing. Lots of people dying is obviously a horrible thing. When it happens in the real world, it's awful. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants. I mean, there's psychotics out there that like it, and there's tyrants out there that like it. But your average person, me and you and everybody else, that's not something we find fun. But we, as human beings and as thinking human beings and as reasoning people, can differentiate the two. A video game is not real life. A video game is not. You know, we don't go into. I don't play Battlefield 4 because I think I'm going to go pick up an AR-15 and throw on some camo and go over to the Middle East and start fighting the war, because I know the freaking difference. So, you know, when these guys write these articles about, oh, it's, you know, millions of people died, mustard gas isn't fun, and, well, neither's flamethrowers, and nobody really threw a fit.
Neither is a cerebral bore.
Yeah.
Everybody remember the cerebral bore? I mean, you get blinded with mustard gas, but no, you have the cerebral bore that fires some little thing that aims for somebody's head and just essentially just sucks your brain out.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, you know, all these articles about that is really just... It's just annoying more than anything else because they're making it.
So does that mean they're also not going to watch the Wonder Woman movie because
right.
that's set in World War I?
Exactly. So that'll be interesting to see. But we have gotten some more information, which I'm happy about, because initially, when leading up to the show and through the weekend, all we had was the teaser, and the teaser gave us very little. We knew there was going to be tanks. We knew there was going to be biplanes. We knew there was going to be horse soldiers with their swords, you know, the Ottomans and the we knew what was going to be there. Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to that, exactly, because it's just like if they're going to do the historical accuracy, maybe you'll get a chance to you'll probably have a passing encounter with Lawrence of Arabia, and you just the they're probably going to evoke the classic David Lean movie, and then you're just charging down the Arabian desert, going after Ottomans and what have you. That'd
right.
be actually I'd actually be kind of excited about that.
I think it would be too, and so I liked that, but then I recently, just before the show, I actually found an article, and I sent you guys the link to it because I wanted to know, and this is my big kicker, it's always been the deciding factor, because I'm an old school FPS player. I've always played on PC, and being able to choose the servers I play on, dedicated servers, and playing with different groups of friends in the same server has always been key to that play.
I'm surprised that for a time it was no longer a thing. To be honest, I'm going to be very clear about here. The last time my last Battlefield game was the original 1942, and I played the hell of it, and it took me a while to just like, this is the first time I got excited again, and I'm just surprised that was a thing that there's like, when was they did that for those dedicated, how did they did that for server?
They did it for Battlefront, and that's kind of what worried me, because Battlefront is essentially a reskin of Battlefield 4. It's almost the same engine. It's just putting Star Wars on Battlefield 4, and they made it matchmaking. So when you want to play Battlefront, you join a matchmaking thing, and it puts you together with a bunch of other players and throws you into a match together. You don't go pick a server. You don't play with the same people every night unless you create. I mean, it's basically like playing it on the console. Which, if I wanted to play shooters on the console, I wouldn't own a PC. I own a PC, so I want it this way. And Call of Duty did that for a while. After Modern Warfare, they did that, and that's why a lot of us left the Call of Duty franchise.
Is that also why Infinite Warfare has like a gazillion dislikes on YouTube?
It could be, but there's probably a lot of other factors, and that's what's really funny is because Battlefield 1 in just a couple of days wound up getting twice as many likes on their teaser trailer on YouTube than Infinity Warfare had. Go ahead.
That was weird. That was just weird because I just like, okay, so why does everybody not liking the Infinite? Because I watched it and it's like, okay, I guess this is I didn't hate it. I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, it was a Call of Duty trailer. And I'm like, okay, and then just moved on. I'm just like,
Yeah,
it was weird.
I'm not sure because honestly, I haven't played a Call of Duty game since Black Ops, and I hated Black Ops. I played 2 matches of Black Ops, and I pretty much threw the disc in a drawer and never touched it again.
I just while we're on the subject of when was the last time we played Call of Duty, I haven't played one since I haven't played like a one full one all the way since the first. The only time I played the last few times I played was just one time. I only played up to the parts in Modern Warfare 1 and 2. The first one just so I can see what happened with the nuke, what happened when I got nuked in Iraq, and the second one because I wanted to shoot innocents in the Russian airports.
Yeah, yeah, and that I just those games just don't appeal to me, and the new one doesn't either. And we had a couple friends who got Black Ops 3, and we were all on vent together, and me and another guy were playing. I think we were playing Battlefield 4, and they were trying to play Black Ops 3. And it's funny because we're sitting here, we joined a server just like every other time, and we're playing, and we're in there playing with everybody else, and they were sitting there waiting in the lobby for the matchmaking to put them in a game, and then half the time they'd get in a game and the whoever they were connected to would drop and the peer-to-peer would crash and they would all be back in the lobby waiting for another game while we're consistently just playing along and getting through matches. And I'm like, why would I even want to spend $60-$70 on a game where I'm going to spend 15 to 20 minutes every match waiting for it to find players when I
Tell
could
me
just
about it.
it's stupid. So this article came out. I'm looking at the one on GameSpot. There's been several. There was a Q&A with the developers, and what we do know now, which I'm very excited about, is vehicles are unique. That I'm not really sure what he means by that, but I'm guessing each vehicle will probably be unique to faction and things like that. There will be a campaign that says will feel much more like Battlefield. That one.
What does that mean? What does that mean anyway? Because it's just like much more like what kind of because 1942 was just large maps and just capture the flag, and I saw my brother play through Battlefield 3's Carolina campaign, and that didn't seem like it's just a much more it's like any other it's like any other to use a term Yahtzee would say spungargle wee single player campaign where you're just like
no punctuation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's very true and I wonder about that too because I'm familiar with 2142, Battlefield 2, and 2142, and they didn't have campaigns. I'm fairly certain that none of the original Battlefields had a single player campaign, so I'm not really sure what a Battlefield campaign feels like. Bad Company 2 had a pretty good single player. I remember enjoying it a lot. I don't know if they mean that or what. But I'm not sure.
Wait a minute. I think I actually do have bad. I downloaded. I bought it in a sale a long time ago on Steam for Bad Company. Maybe I should warm that up and just give it a look see, just so I know what to expect.
Right.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe. They also say that multiple people will be able to fly in the same plane, so I imagine they're going to have bombers that are going to tailgun. I remember some of the World War I bombers did have a couple of gunner positions. They weren't nearly like what you'd see in World War II. They also said the tanks. There's going to be single and multi-player tanks.
This is fine. This is just how they use it.
Right.
How they use.
Naval vessels will be included, but we're not sure yet what. So I'm not sure if it's going to be like 2142, where you could actually use or not 2142, 1942, where you could actually use. I think what was it? A destroyer and a submarine were the two naval vehicles in that.
That'll be interesting because I think that was the first time. World War I was the first time the U-boat was used to great effect.
Yeah.
Submarine.
I think so, and that I'd have to check. I can't. It's been a while since I've done my. I'm more of a World War II buff, so I know a little bit about World War I in passing, but not as extensively as I know World War II. I
think that applies to most of everybody in the United States.
So that's kind of that's why it's interesting that they chose this there, and that's why I'm glad they chose it because I think it will spark interest in young people to learn about this. It will spark older people who maybe did not read as much about it. It might cause us to do a little more research in reading on it. The settings in the game, they said, are going to be Italian Alps and the Arabian Desert, are two of them that we know of. So we know, the horsemen, the Italian Alps, going to be some cool maps of the mountains and whatnot.
And obviously, you're not going to have a you can't have a World War One era first-person shooter game if you don't have Verdun and the Somme.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot of. I think there'll be a lot of really key historical areas and settings. So I'm looking forward to that. The other two big things, and these are the last two bullet points on this thing, but one of them is they say all the weapon attachments will be era authentic, which some people were concerned that to spice things up, DICE or EA might throw in some really convoluted stuff that didn't exist, or try to.
I'm curious about that, because I'm just like, I'll have to check, like, what can you go for, because the way I think, like, era authentic, all I can think about is just maybe a silencer, definitely a bayonet.
Yeah. Yeah, not much, because really, I mean, you're talking the early era of repeating firearms. I mean, you still got
warfare.
Yeah, you still got guys using single shot bolt action. So
you got people. A grenade wasn't something you can shoot from your rifle just yet, from an attachment on your rifle just yet. You had to toss it.
Right.
Yes.
Yep, definitely. And then the last big thing, and this I was really excited about, they said there will be a server browser. They're not sure if it's going to be on all platforms, but it should be PC.
Given the way, they should probably at least give it a try on the console platforms, because, well, like I said, I'm just sort of struck odd of the thought that people would eschew that kind of approach to game joining.
Yeah,
it
does seem very odd, but thankfully there will be a server browser, which means at least for the PC, it sounds like we will be able to do as we've always done, and people will be able to rent servers and allow other people to join and play, so that you'll be able to join. If you find a server you like or a group of people you like, you should be able to play with them every night that you want, rather than sitting in a lobby waiting for a match to start. So that I'm pretty excited about.
Shouldn't be like going out and playing laser tag and having to wait your turn. Wait your turn after the next group is done.
Exactly. That's exactly what it seems like. So that pretty much covers the lighthearted hunk of the show. And then we're going to get... So here is your second warning. If you're watching the show and you missed the first warning, we're going to talk about Captain America Civil War, and there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, please, if you don't want anything ruined, wait. Go ahead and log off now and watch the show that when I upload it to YouTube after you've seen Civil War, because I don't want to spoil anything for you by accident. But this is pretty much it. If you're still on after this point, it's at your own risk. So, you have both seen the movie. What were your initial thoughts?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like an Avengers movie that actually exceeds my expectations. Exceeds, not meets, because that's the... I know it says Captain America Civil War, but let's not beat around the bush about it. It was essentially like Avengers 3-ish. The past two Avengers movies, while I liked them, I never really loved them. They always came to me. I always say that they met my expectations, and that's the expectation where it's just like all the people from the movies that came beforehand come together to fight a big foe. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of something or other. But other than that, there's nothing that electrifies the soul, so to speak. It's just like, okay, that was fine. And I think Avengers 2, same with Avengers 2, although, like, that one is a bit of a I always thought it was a total misfire, because this is supposed to be like like a dark chapter where it's just like sort of setting the stage for Civil War, but instead it sort of ended up like everybody, we had a fun time. We had such a fun time. and then Ultron was like an Ultron where I thought he was going to be serious based on the trailer, so he was like, no, he was just sort of a snarky robot Stark, and then this one we had like the emotion, and then there's the action, and there's all the fun things, and some of this Cap. And oh yes, the Cap story is good, just as good too.
Right. And Russell?
I actually liked Ultron more than the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
I felt that the first Avengers movie took a little bit too long to get somewhere.
And where would you
That's
throw...
understandable.
Where would you throw Civil War there?
Civil War is in my top 3.
Yeah.
It's somewhere swimming around Guardians and Winter Soldier.
Nice. I put it up there too. I almost would have put Winter Soldier as my favorite. I really like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not something I ever had much attachment to. I'm just really glad that they did it very well. So I consider that I put that way up there. But Captain America, of all the Avengers, he's one of the few Avengers I've actually cared 2 bits about. I'm a Marvel reader, but I'm not much of an Avengers reader. So to see them, I liked the first Captain America, but Winter Soldier I thought was the peak of a lot of the Marvel movies, because it was.
Oh yeah.
It had enough action to keep you excited, but it had enough slow points where it didn't feel like it was just nonstop action. Because that was one of my beefs with Avengers 1 and Avengers 2. I enjoyed them, but they didn't stop. They didn't stop to take a breath. It was just go, go, go the whole time.
It's just like, where it's like Avengers was like superhero spectacle. It must be a superhero spectacle,
Right.
whereas Winter Soldier is just like, well, we can't be a superhero spectacle, but we also kind of want to make it a political thriller.
And
they wanted to run.
Yeah, and it had a lot of heavy story elements. Like, one of the most memorable scenes for me from any of the Marvel movies is when, Captain America out of uniform is riding in the car with Black Widow, and they're just driving. And they're talking. Like, that was a great scene. I really loved that scene, and I still remember that scene. And that's where I went. That was the point in the movie where I went, wait a minute, this movie gives you a minute to breathe. It gives you a minute to take in the story and to think about what's happening, instead of just hitting you constantly with shit blowing up and people flying all over the place. And I like that stuff, but I also want to get some of that story, and I really want to get some of that time to take a breath,
Yeah, these guys don't hang around. Guys don't hang around as often as you want them to, so it feels like you gotta have what do they do in between their usual 2-hour-long parties, really face off against the big bad.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Spider-Man was really good.
Yeah, I did like this depiction of Spider-Man. I really did.
Amazingly so. I'm really excited for now I'm really excited for the Homecoming movie. It was just sort of like, I was just sort of wondering when what's it called again? When they would introduce Spider-Man, but then it cuts to Queens, and it was like that entire conversation with Stark and Parker and
Marissa Tomei as hot Aunt May.
I'm still I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like, I guess she was fine, but still, it's just it's also weird that weird just to hear Peter Parker instead of like it's always. Back in the day, it's always Aunt May, but here it's just May.
Right.
It's like, I wish. I'm just like, I was never taught to be that chummy with my aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
He lives with her though, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's little things here and there. But
the only thing I had a problem with was that the villain wasn't very good. That's my only real criticism of the movie.
Which one?
Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo really wasn't much of a villain.
And and I think there was a purpose to that. I really don't think Zemo was, while he was a catalyst, I really don't think he was supposed to be the villain. It was really very much about 2 different ideas clashing.
He's really cool in the comic books, though. He wears like a
yeah. I was sort of
a mask stuck to his face.
Yeah.
And he's got like magical weaponry and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just sort of disappointing because my other experience with Zemo is his time in in like the last Avengers cartoon, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where he's just like an amazing he's amazing villain foil to Captain America when he was like part of the so-called, I think they were the Masters of Evil, and it's just like, here's this Zemo, and it's like he's a former Death Squad person, and he's able to just weave into the do all that stuff without breaking a sweat, and I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine. It's just on a movie of its own, it's fine. When you place it vis-a-vis his comic book history, it's kind of underwhelming.
Well, maybe we haven't seen the end of him. I mean, maybe this is because really I didn't picture him at all as the bad. He was more the lever that pushed everything over more than the antagonist for the whole. To me, the antagonist, and this is a weird. It's going to be weird for me or hard for me to explain how I pictured the antagonist, but I thought the antagonist of this movie wasn't a character so much as an idea. This was very much a story about two people trying to figure out the best way to handle a very awful situation, and how their two ideas clashed and butted heads. And obviously it was Captain America and Iron Man, and how they handled the Accords.
Yeah.
How quickly did you all figure out that Winter Soldier killed Tony's parents?
That was actually
the first moment, because I've always heard insinuations, I think in the past, that'd be Winter Soldier who killed Tony Stark's parents.
It's mentioned in the second one that it's implied that Hydra killed Tony Stark's father.
Yeah.
It's implied, like we got rid of our enemies, and then it shows a picture of Tony Stark with an extermination over his head. So sorry,
Howard.
What's his father's name? Henry Stark.
Howard Stark.
Yep.
Howard Stark. I was almost going to Game of Thrones there for a second.
I immediately assumed that was my immediate position, because you wouldn't what's it called again, have him shoot a car in the middle of the. Shoot that car in the middle and have all those secret things, and just like, this is going to be somebody of note. And then just like it initially, then it starts with the last, and then it's just like it just pretty much solidified when we saw like the facsimile of them in Tony's first scene.
Yeah,
and maybe
I knew it the second I saw the car. I was like, Tony's parents died in a car crash.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they're dead. They were killed by Hydra. Yep, Winter Soldier killed them.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't put those. I either didn't pay enough attention, or I didn't put those two together, because it really, that did catch me by surprise, which is unusual, because I'm usually it's usually hard for a movie to trick me with a mystery or something like that. But yeah, I didn't get it until they started playing the video. And with those three there in the launch tube, and I thought, well,
we knew they had to fight again, because the trailer shows Winter Soldier and Iron Man Winter Soldier and Captain America beating on Iron Man, and throwing the shield between each other.
Yeah.
So
and
I was like, there's missing a fight scene here.
And let me ask you if you guys caught this too, because this is probably going to be one of the scenes that's going to be the most memorable for me going down the road, because this had the biggest impact right there when I was watching it. At that fight, because you reminded me of this, and I wanted to bring it up. At the end of that fight, Captain America has finally gotten the upper hand. He's finally got Iron Man on his back, and he's beating him, and he's disabling. He's just tearing the crap out of him, and he raises his shield over his head, and Tony covers his face. Like, Tony Stark believes that Captain America is about to kill him. And and me knowing Captain America, not going to happen. Like, for me, that is such a huge scene, because I think that shows how far Tony had sunk into his belief of how bad Captain America's stance was. Like, he believed Captain America was so wrong that Steve Rogers would violate his own morals to be right. Like, Tony believed that Steve Rogers would do the unthinkable just to win. And when he covered his face and Cap smashed the power, the power cell for the suit, like, I knew Cap was going to do that. But that really...
Yeah, it was sort of... I was
anticipating
maybe... when you think about it, I was actually anticipating maybe you had that one scene where they have that one quick shot of his face where he has a crisis of conscience.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that didn't happen. It's just like, you just go...
And then he goes, you don't deserve that shield. My father designed that shield. And Cameron's like, yep. And he drops it.
And he drops it, yeah. And you're right, that and a lot of movies would do that, a lot of stories would do that, which would make it predictable, is they would show Captain America hesitate and like, oh yeah, maybe I'll kill him. But no, that's not that's not Captain America. He is always a rock of moral standing in the Marvel universe, and no matter what happens, that's why I love that compared to like how they've been writing Superman recently, because they are really, Captain America and Superman are the Marvel DC counterparts to each other as far as their morals and their ethics and their story goes. While their powers aren't the same and their origins are vastly different, their character is the same.
You don't have Agent Carter or what's it called again, Black Widow saying like, Captain America, you don't owe this world, you don't owe America a thing.
Right. He doesn't go through a moral conflict. His only moral conflict is that his good friend is against him. Captain America doesn't go through some sort of moral conflict about what's the right choice. He makes the choice he knows is right. He goes through the things he knows is right, and there's never a moment of doubt. Except, the only conflict he has is that his friends are against him, but he still does the right thing.
And the only hiccup on his part is just accidentally is just thinking that Tony is just when you just think about the only mistake he made in the movie, and even then he was operating from a good place, was withholding information that he knew Bucky killed Tony's parents.
He makes it clear that he suspected he did it, but he didn't actually fully know the Winter Soldier did it.
Yeah.
He implied,
And that was a mistake.
He says, I didn't know it was him. I think he says it when he asks him. It's like, I didn't think it was him. He knew that his parents were killed, and they didn't die by accident, like Tony thought, because he found out from what was his name?
Zemo.
No, in the second movie.
Hold on, I got it.
The Hale hard drive guy.
Zola.
Yeah, Arnim Zola. Yeah. Arnim Zola told him, imply that Tony's parents were killed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the superhero throwdown was amazing. Also, that was amazing.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
It goes without saying. It's like it manages to make everything all. They just made it work. It was completely. It was just everything worked. It was sort of.
And when Ant-Man went into Giant Man, holy shit, that was awesome.
Oh, it was great. All of it. Like when they threw the fuel truck at War Machine, and he's just like, seriously.
I thought it was a water truck.
Yeah.
When he goes to Giant Man, Iron Man goes, "Do any of you have any other amazing super abilities you've been leaving?"
Right. I love that. That's always been key. Like. Here's I guess this is a great comparison, because here's Marvel dealing with a very strong political topic and a very dark theme. This is best friends fighting each other over the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And then you have DC doing the same thing with Batman versus Superman. And while one of them was dark and humorless and really just kind of almost painful to watch, the other, Civil War, had moments of fun, had slow moments of introspection, had humor. The jokes were not over the top, but they were so well placed. The humor was so well placed in that movie, didn't you think?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I can say this thing. I'm gonna pause this out because it's just like. When I was just like watching watch the movie, all I just thought I'm reading the dialogue and just like this is, in some sense, this is also a it's sort of the, it's thematically similar to Batman v Superman about the need of security and just keeping powerful people in check. The thing is that it's just, it's sort of there's a big, I don't know if you people are politically inclined, if you think there's like a big conflict, there's a big conflict brewing between what they call the establishment, like the establishment Republicans, and then of course the people who support Donald Trump. You know, there's the pundit class. They call them the pundit class and what have you. And I just sort of had a realization. It's just like the way, like, and it's all a factor of the language of cinema. Is what Batman v Superman is. What happens when academics and pundits talk about superheroes? It's just sort of like it's all abstract, concrete. They just probe into the deep thematic elements and keeps it away from the masses. Whereas Civil War, they talk like regular people. This is how just like it brings the themes down to a level that regular people. I don't mean this as an insult or something.
No, not at all.
Insult or something can themes that they can grasp, and that also helps that these people aren't talking their ivory towers. They're just like they're friends, they're teammates, they're people who go through the thick and thin, and it's just like they talk about regular, like they just like essentially they talk like normal people would. They don't dress it up in pretenses. So
exactly.
In summation, and I'm going to wrestle a bit of Jimmy's on one particular side. Batman v Superman was written by pundits. Captain America: Civil War is written by Donald Trump.
Yeah, and in a sense, I think you're very much onto something, because it was to me the politics of Civil War was very much how a couple of people would talk over a beer, like you're saying. It's
I would say
talking like normal people.
I would say more or less Civil War sounded more of a libertarian side effect than Trump. I would say.
Well, yeah, a little bit more, at least from Captain America's standpoint.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just that I wasn't talking about like political viewpoints. I was talking about language, just the language, the the way of dialogue. But yes, you have a point, and it's sort of like, and much to the consternation of people of certain journalists like Salon.
Yeah.
Captain America there's a very libertarian bent to it.
Yes.
And you know that's funny, and I definitely want to get it. We don't normally get political, so if you're watching the show, this is you can't talk about this movie without talking about the politics of it, because it is very political, and it's very parallel to things that are happening now and have been happening for a while. So to me, I read one of those articles where they said Captain America, and this really irritates me when people who don't know comic books or don't know video games write about comic books or video games. If you want to write news about comic books and just say this comic book's coming out on this date and it's going to have this many issues for this amount of price, and you don't read comic books, that's fine, because you got the facts that were given to you by the company and you could write those facts down, and that's great. But if you want to talk about comic books, you need to know what the hell you're talking about. I saw this headline that traditionally liberal patriot Captain America comes off as libertarian in the movie. And let me tell you one damn thing. Captain America has never been very political at all. Like, he's political, and I'll explain what I mean, but he's never been liberal. He's also
Marvel
never...
did that dumb thing during the early era
for
of
a little
Obama.
bit. Yeah,
with
for a
Falcon,
little bit.
Falcon and
like
Captain America commenting on the Tea Party.
Captain America was like the Nomad or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about there was one issue of the comic book.
They had a discussion.
When Falcon and Captain America had a discussion about the Tea Party protests.
Right,
and it was really, really stupid.
It was, and it didn't go over well, and nobody remembers those comics.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what you think of the Tea Party protests. You don't want them to talk about them dishonestly.
Right.
I mean,
so Captain America's never been liberal. He's definitely very much a patriot, and it's funny because that headline made it sound like being a patriot is a liberal thing, and I beg to differ.
Being a liberal is more of the internet being more adhering to the internationalist regulatory thing, like getting the United Nations to having them under the employ of the United Nations.
Yeah. United Nations versus sovereignty.
And that's very much the theme of the movie. And I want to make a very specific point from my standpoint anyway. There are liberal patriots. There are conservative patriots. I know a lot of liberals who are great people and are not drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. But this Salon writer, and I know other writers have done it. Captain America.
That's your first mistake. You went to Salon.
Yeah. Well, no, you can't not go to it when everybody's retweeting the retarded headlines.
Yeah, you just have to do.
You read them and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe people are this dumb. And then I realized, it's the internet. People are this dumb. Yep. But Captain America has been very much a center, individualistic, patriotic character. I wouldn't put him on one side of the fence or the other. I'd put him squarely in the middle, most concerned, like, to me, and this is kind of I guess a weird way to describe it, but to me Captain America has always used the Constitution and the law as a measuring stick. If it fits the law or it fits the Constitution, then to him it's right. If it doesn't, then it's wrong. And he's very much a person concerned with individuals, with the people. And he even says that in the movie. And that's his biggest beef with the Accords is he thinks...
They would send us somewhere that we don't want to go, or they wouldn't allow us to go somewhere we need to go.
Yep.
And the power, and this is the line that really stuck with me, because I'm surprised anybody in Hollywood wrote this line, and B, I'm surprised that it made it into such a huge budget movie like this. But when he said this kind of power belongs in the hands of the people who wield it, I mean that right there is
not a committee.
I mean that's a gun rights advocate line. So to hear that in a big budget Hollywood film, I was very surprised.
Which is so strange, because I mean, throughout my Twitter feed and everything, everybody wants to side with Team Cap. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to how Iron Man talks in the movie, deep down in real life, we're actually all even in our most liberty-loving ways, deep down we are kind of Team Iron Man.
I think some of us are, well, a little bit of both, because I don't think Iron Man's stance was 100% wrong. I think the concern is where I don't think having oversight of something. I mean, let's imagine a world where the Avengers exist. There's not a problem with having oversight of such an organization. The problem is where the oversight was given.
Also, how did Lightning Bolt Ross become Secretary of State? I think we all want to know how that happened.
Tell me about
it. Who knows? But
I was actually half expecting him to go Red Hulk in this and be the villain.
Yeah. So I don't know. The politics of it are pretty deep and they're pretty intriguing, and I think they did what I think was great. Is I think they did a very good job of keeping the politics subtle. They didn't hit you in the face with it. You know what I mean?
There is a couple of things. There is a couple of things I just sort of realized. Thanks. Mm-hmm. It's just like they needed, and that's probably something, if dare I say it, Batman v Superman did a tiny bit better.
What's that?
Okay, I think before I watched this, I watched another review, and they actually made a good point. Is that everybody's shocked that they may answer to the United Nations, but in real life, if you're saying you're going to have to answer to the United Nations, you're going to meet with a sense of sighs, eye rolls, and just sort of giggles, just like them.
Right.
They couldn't even join together to what's it called again? Couldn't even join together to order a pizza. Couldn't even make a unanimous decision to order a pizza.
Right.
To order
because China would veto
pizza. Tell me about it. And it's like, and then there's the thing. Because
the UN was used as a vehicle to introduce Black Panther. We knew that's exactly why they chose.
Obviously, Well, and to make it a worldwide, because obviously the Avengers.
Well, they wanted to introduce Black Panther. And
yeah, but they also
not the federal government.
Yeah. But they also needed sort of a. But there's also one thing they didn't have as well. And while they had Iron Man on their side, and they had like his lever, like they have his power, but he was still reluctant, and he was still a human element. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that like completely. They didn't have one person or one element completely in their pocket, which is like, whereas in Batman v Superman, you had this completely Lex Luthor completely invested as the means to control what's it called again? To control Superman. He has that element called and he has the means, which is the kryptonite, that kryptonite fragment. And then that's pretty much like they have like an ace in the hole in case something happens. What's it called again? In case something happens and they go and Superman truly goes rogue. And what Batman, what Batman does here. Okay, and hold on, I'm almost done. But in Civil War, all you have is just Tony Stark's goodwill, and then which doesn't really mean much, because by the end of the movie, he just casually, when Ross talks about getting his prison, how his prison, which is strangely ironic, because why open a prison when all of your supervillains are mostly dead? And he just when he just talks in the speakerphone, he turns it off. And how does that work? And then, okay, but go on what you were about to say.
2 points. One, I think we all kind of brushed over the fact that Tony's father had recreated the superhero serum that created Captain America. I think they
mean the stuff they glossed over
that
Winter Soldier,
that happened. He managed to recreate it, and we know. So that's probably going to cause some problems further down the line. The fact that there is a serum that they've managed to recreate it.
Is there any left though? Because they created how many? 7 Winter Soldiers?
You think Tony Stark's father didn't write that down somewhere? He probably invested millions doing that. He probably wrote it down somewhere. So it's probably going to create some problems down the line.
It'd be a nice element to go ahead.
Yeah, and the second thing is Vision in a sweater. I don't think any of us were expecting that.
No, it did look weird.
That was so jarring to see him. Yeah, Vision walked through the wall. And
Vision is a door. Well, Vision was technically a year old infant, year old. So he has to learn. Given time, he has to learn baby steps.
It was really funny though. I was not expecting him.
Yeah,
It was
sort of like he also built up his relationship with with Scarlet Witch already by that time as well. It's sort of a budding romance.
Right.
We also have to remember he's like a year old.
Right. Yeah, that's what.
That's what I said. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a little
weird.
I'd hope to see, and I know they're probably not going to do a Vision, but it would be interesting to see, because I do kind of like, as being such an oddball character, it would be interesting to see how he progresses being so young and learning to deal with everything. But unfortunately, we're only going to see him in movies with all the other Avengers, and of course we got Infinity War coming up, and
he will probably die.
Probably, or the stone's got to be taken. He has an
infinity gem in his head that keeps him alive. So if Thanos takes it from him, he will die.
When we see him, we're only going to see him basically as a small part of a larger whole, and so we won't really get to see much character development with him, I don't think. And I'd really like to see that.
Yeah. Originally, they kind of need to do that. I mean, I'm glad they also are doing that now with Hulk. Where I think Hulk is part of Thor Ragnarok now, right? I think so.
It's gonna be half a Thor movie and half a Planet Hulk movie, from what I understand.
That could be cool.
We don't know where it's going really.
Yeah, there hasn't been much released on that one yet.
I would like Beta Ray Bill to be in it. I'd like him, if they do a Planet Hulks, I'd like Beta Ray Bill to be on the planet. That would be really cool. Beta Ray Bill's probably my favorite version of Thor.
Maybe we'll come across a Guardian maybe a guardian will make a cameo appearance.
Yeah, that could be an interesting way to tie some of those side franchises together, like Thor and Hulk.
Adam Warlock could show. Remember that Adam Warlock was the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. James, can't remember his last name. He directed Super as well. What's his name?
James Gunn.
There we go. James Gunn. He said in the Collector's Collection, Benicio del Toro's character, there is a chrysalis in the background at one scene, and he confirmed that chrysalis contains Adam Warlock. So it's pretty much guaranteed that Adam Warlock will be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, presumably somewhere. Maybe he'll show up near the end of it.
Hopefully Howard the Duck reappears as well.
Now, see, if you got to bring Beta Ray Bill in, we got to bring in Howard the Duck, right?
Yeah. Also, they have everyone's wondering who Kurt Russell as Star-Lord's dad is at. What character from the comic books he'll be. I think the best idea is Star Fox.
Wait, what? They're wondering who his dad is?
Yeah, because it makes sense when you think about it. Star-Lord, Star Fox.
No, his dad is a character. It's Jason.
Wait, he has an actual...
Yeah, his dad's an actual character. Like, he's actually in the car. He was in the most recent...
is he an immortal?
No, before that, he's human.
Inhuman, sorry. He's inhuman, right? Yeah.
No, he's human.
He's just... but he's an alien. He's an alien in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let me double check that, because I know he was in the right before they went to Secret Wars. They had Guardians of the Galaxy X-Men crossover.
Because he has to be inhuman, because he can't be human. We know that he has to be some sort of alien.
Yeah, he is an alien. He's Jason of Spartax. He's actually the emperor of the Spartoi Empire. So he is an alien, sister race to the Shi'ar. So he's an alien like the Shi'ar, but he looks human.
They made him Star-Lord. That would be. I mean, if his father was Star Fox, though, it would make why his mother called him Star-Lord as a child. That would add a little bit more sense there. Also, Star Fox is Thanos' brother, so there's also that story.
Oh dear. So so Peter Quill is the nephew to Thanos then.
That would be an interesting plot line, wouldn't it?
That would
be. But they probably don't have the balls to do it, or they're too politically correct to it, because Star Fox has probably the most politically incorrect superpowers ever. He can control the emotions of others, and he uses it to get laid a lot.
Yeah.
He got put on trial. He got put on trial for.
Don't talk anymore. If this gets more popular, you're going to generate too many think pieces.
Yeah. People. No,
there's think pieces written about him. He got put on trial for essentially sexual molestation because of his powers. Well, he has the ability to manipulate emotions.
Well, folks, we have actually. I think we've kind of exhausted the topics tonight, and we've hit almost our hour. Yes, because we don't want to get too much out there. We don't want to speculate too much, because you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
You get out there and people start talking crazy stuff, and before long you start rumors and people write articles, and we don't need more of that crap. So, folks, we are going to cut it here soon. Thank you for joining us, Jude. It was great to have you.
Great to be here.
And Russell, as usual, thank you for joining us on another Tuesday episode. This will be up soon on YouTube, so you guys can watch it if you missed it, or watch it after the movie. And thank you for joining us, and we are out. You all have a good